All right, welcome back. So, my apologies for the previous video with, the errors that happened with stuff not working. I got Anaconda fixed. It's been restarted. The notebook has been tested to make sure that it does not happen again. Now let's jump into our Jupyter notebook here, and we're going to create a new notebook where we're going to talk about for loops, okay? Because that really threw me off that stuff is not cooperating with us. So let me bring this down here. And then what we can do is we're going to go to desktop on here and then go to Python basics. And then we're going to do number 10. And we're going to do for loops. So let's save this as number 10. And we'll do for loops. So remember, the beautiful thing about having the notebook, the way that we have it, is you can always go back and look at all the work that we've done. So we talked about syntax, comments, data types, numbers, casting, booleans, operators, if-else statements, while loops, and for loops. So if you have a question or concern or don't understand something, jump back into that and look at the examples that we did, and you have kind of a reference guide with that. Okay. So for loops, let's talk about what is a for loop. So we talked about while loops in the previous video. So a for loop is used for iterating over a sequence that is either a list, a tuple, or a dictionary, a set, or a string. This is less like the for keyword in other programming languages and works more like an iterator method as found in other object-oriented programming languages. While the for loop, we can execute a set of statements once for each item in a list, tuple, set, etc. Okay, so let's run a for loop. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to print a list. Okay, so let's comment this out, cross our fingers to make sure that our notebook is cooperating with us while we're recording here, which it will. And let's call this computers, okay? Computers equal, actually let's call this operating systems, okay? Equal, and then bracket here, and we'll do Windows, Mac OS, and let's do capital O there, and then let's do Linux. Okay. For X in operating, and we'll call it OS. Okay. For X in OS, print X. Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. There you go. So that is a for loop. Okay. Now we're going to loop through a string. So even strings are irritable objects that contain a sequence of characters. Okay. So with this example, what it's going to do is it's going to play with the letters of the for loop. So it'll grab the letters. So let's comment this out first, and we'll do looping through a string. And what it's going to do is it's going to separate each word. So if we do for X in Windows, okay, print X, it's going to separate all the letters out. So if I print that, let's do lowercase. Really? Okay, so it's not cooperating. Imagine that. But I'm here all week. Let's do A and then print A. Then let's run it. Oh, still invalid. Okay. So we'll just use for X in, let's say, Apple. Okay. And the reason why it's not working, come on, man. I'm asleep at the wheel over here. We've got a colon. Okay, so now let's do print X. There you go. So now we got Windows. So let's trade this to B, and this will be A. Okay. Keep it in sequence, right? Make it easy for you to remember, to kind of look through. Now we're going to talk about the break statement. So with the break statement, we can stop the loop before it has looped through all the items. So for example, if it's looping through a list, we can stop it at macOS and then say pull data from macOS or whatever you want to do. There's a lot of possibilities, but it's an exciting possibility because it, after this word, you can stop everything. So let's go there and let's comment this out. This is the break statement. Okay. So the break statement. So let's do operating system again, and we'll do equals, and we'll do the same example. So Windows, Mac OS, and then Linux. Whoops, did not mean to do that. Linux, all lowercase. There we go. And then for C in OS, colon, don't forget that colon, print C. Okay. If C is equal to Mac OS, colon, break. Basically stop. There you go. So we got Windows, which printed everything. Okay. Actually didn't print everything. It printed Windows and then braked on Mac OS, which it stopped at break OS. Okay. We had a break wherever it said Mac OS, that's where we wanted to stop. Okay. So break. Break at the stop sign. That's exactly what we did. So now let's talk about the continue statement. So with the continue statement, we can stop the current iteration of a loop and can continue with the next. Okay, so basically you can go over one of the list items. So for example, if we wanted to bypass Mac OS, okay, so let's comment this out, the continue statement, okay, and if we want to bypass Mac OS, so we're going to write the same stuff, so OS equals, and it will be Windows, and then let's do Mac OS, and then let's do Linux. Okay, and then for D is OS, print D, so we're going to do for D in OS, okay, and then if D is equal to Mac OS, continue. Print X, and not X, D. Invalid syntax, okay. So, it's because I keep forgetting the colon. And we're not indented, so let's see here. Let's do that. There you go. So, I fixed the syntax, missed the colon and tabbed in, and now we're good. So for D and OS, if D is equal to Mac OS, continue, which means ignore Mac OS and just show me Windows and Linux. Okay? So that is the continue statement. Now if I go to the next one here, the range function, okay, to loop through a set of code a specified number of times, we can use the range function. The range function returns a sequence of numbers starting from 0 by default, increments by 1 by default and ends at a specific number. Okay, so what we can do, and again, this is the range function. So let's comment that out so we know what it is. The range function. Okay. So we'll do the following. For E in range 6, okay, we're going to print E. And then I'll run that, and we should get 0 to 5. And we do. Success. How it should be. Come on, man. Come on, Jupyter Notebook. Thank you for working. All right, now let's talk about else in for loop. So the else keyword in a for loop specifies a block of code to be executed when the loop is finished. Okay, so let's do that. So I'm going to comment this out. And let's do else in for loop. Okay. Now you'll remember when we were talking about if else statements, it's similar to that. Same idea. Okay. A little bit different, but the same idea. So we're going to do for F in range 6, and then we'll print F, else, print, finally, coding correctly, Jupyter Notebook. There you go. So it's running the range of 0 to 5, and then printing text. Beautiful. So now we're going to talk about the nested loops. Okay, so a nested loop is a loop inside a loop. The inner loop will be executed one time for each iteration of the outer loop. Okay, so let's comment this out, nested loops, and then let's write out the nested loop. Let's write out a bunch of loops. Okay. So let's use the example of adjectives. So we'll do red, big, tasty, and then fruits equal apple, banana, cherry. For G in adjective, or ADJ, for H in fruits, print G and H, G comma H. Okay. Now let's run that. There you go. Red apple, red banana, red cherry, big apple, big banana, big cherry, tasty apple, tasty banana, tasty cherry. So we ran a for loop in a nested loop, and it connected all the words together. So we had red apple, red banana, red cherry. Then big apple, big banana, big cherry, and then tasty apple, tasty banana, tasty cherry. So that is how you nest loops, okay? And it's quite awesome. And remember, you could use a continue statement with this to continue or eliminate parts of the loop. So if you wanted to take out tasty and cherry, you could do that in here. Okay. You would just write all this in there. And then it would work with that. And you would have that run first, and then you would have this run, and then it would show what you're trying to do. Okay? So finally, we're going to wrap up here, and we're going to talk about the last statement. It's called the pass statement. So for loops cannot be empty. But if for some reason you have a for loop with no content, put in the pass statement to avoid getting an error. Now, we talked about this before in while loops. Okay, so it's the same idea, and we'll just put it in there so that if you run into this issue, then you can just reference this. So we're going to do for x in 0, 1, 2, okay, and then colon pass. Okay, and then when I run that, really? Well, I understand why it doesn't work. I wrote in Fox instead of for. And here I was blaming the notebook. Come on, man. All right, so that's for loops. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.